For 100 years, if you were a giant company in trouble, you called McKinsey. They'd fly in the smartest graduates in the world, study your business, and hand you a report telling you what to change. And often, who to cut. McKinsey is the most powerful consulting firm on earth. It has advised governments, Fortune 500 giants, and half the boardrooms on the planet. So there's something almost poetic about what's happening right now. McKinsey is cutting around 10% of its own workforce. Thousands of jobs. And the reason? Artificial intelligence. The exact technology McKinsey has spent years telling every other company they need to adopt has come from McKinsey. To understand why AI is so dangerous to them, you have to understand what a consulting firm actually sells. And it's not really advice. What they sell is a scarcity. For most of the last century, information was hard to get. If a company wanted to know how its market was shifting, or what competitors were doing, or where its costs were bleeding, that took armies of analysts, months of work, and mountains of data nobody else could reach. McKinsey's genius was to hire the sharpest analytical minds out of the best universities, put them in a room, and rent them out at extraordinary prices to solve that problem. Their moat was raw brain power plus access to information other people didn't have. That's the model. Information asymmetry. They knew what you couldn't easily find out, and you paid millions for it. And it worked spectacularly. Over roughly a decade, McKinsey grew from about 17,000 people to around 45,000. It became the most prestigious job in business. A golden ticket. Now hold that thought, because if your entire business is built on being the smartest analyst in the room, what happens when a machine becomes a better analyst instantly for almost nothing? Here's the brutal part. The work that junior consultants have traditionally done, gathering data, synthesizing research, building models, drafting slides, is exactly, precisely, the work generative AI is best at. Tasks that used to take a team of analysts weeks can now be done in minutes. Not roughly. Not approximately. Minutes. One study found that consulting firms using AI tools report around 40% productivity gains. Think about what that means for a business that bills clients by the hour and the headcount. If you need 40% fewer people to do the same job, you have 40% too many people. And that's what the cuts are. McKinsey's headcount, which peaked around 45,000, has already come back down to roughly 40,000. Revenue growth has stalled, and now more cuts are coming. But the deeper problem isn't headcount. It's that the entire way these firms make money is breaking. Here's how consulting economics actually work. It's a pyramid. At the top, a partner might bill at $500 an hour. Below them, senior consultants at maybe $250, and at the base, a wide layer of junior analysts billed out at $100 an hour or more, often several of them on every project. The magic of that pyramid is leverage. The firm makes its money not on the partner, but on the volume of juniors underneath, each one billing hours at a healthy markup. The whole business depends on having lots of bright young people doing lots of billable work. Now, delete the juniors. If AI does the research, the modeling, and the first draft of the deck, those billable hours simply cease to exist. You cannot invoice a client for 40 hours of analysis that took the machine 40 minutes. The pyramid doesn't shrink. It collapses from the bottom. And that's a far more serious problem than a round of layoffs, because it means the money-making engine itself no longer works the way it did. And here is the single most striking fact in this entire story. McKinsey's workforce today reportedly includes around 20,000 AI agents. Software, working alongside roughly 40,000 humans. Read that again. For every 2 people at the world's most famous consulting firm, there is now 1 artificial intelligence, and the AI doesn't sleep, doesn't need a salary, and doesn't take a bonus. Now here's where it gets almost too perfect. McKinsey has spent the last few years publishing research on how artificial intelligence will transform business. They've told clients that AI will reshape the workforce. Their own studies estimated that a large share of companies were planning AI-driven job cuts. They were right. They just didn't say the quiet part, that they'd be on the list too. The firm's own leader has signaled they'll simply have fewer people in the roles that aren't sitting in front of clients. The back office, the researchers, the analysts, the people who make the machine run. The consultants, in the end, got consulted. And this isn't one firm having a bad year. Look across the industry. Bain, BCG, Deloitte, KPMG, Accenture, all of them have been cutting staff, slowing hiring, or restructuring around AI. The entire consulting model, big teams of bright juniors doing analysis, is being compressed. The pyramid is collapsing from the bottom, and the pressure isn't only coming from inside. A new kind of competitor has appeared. And it's the most interesting part of this whole story. Technology companies like Palantir pioneered something called the forward deployed engineer. Instead of sending consultants who study your business and hand you a report, they send actual engineers who embed inside your company and build the thing. Real code, live systems, in production. And here's the crucial difference. The consultant's job ends when the deck is delivered. The engineer's job doesn't. They're still accountable 6 months later when the system either works or it doesn't. OpenAI has now adopted a version of the same model. These people command enormous salaries, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, because they do the one thing a slide deck never could. They actually ship. Clients noticed something uncomfortable. They were paying enormous sums for a beautiful 100-page report and then paying someone else to actually implement it. Now they can get the analysis almost instantly from AI, and they'd rather spend their money on the person who builds the solution. The market is quietly splitting, strategy on one side, execution on the other, and the money is flowing toward execution. But here's why this story matters far beyond a few consultants losing their jobs. For years, we were told automation would come for factory work, physical labor, repetitive tasks. It didn't. It came for the offices. It came for the analysts, the researchers, the report writers, the highly educated, highly paid, highly cognitive jobs, the exact jobs everyone was told were safe. One estimate suggests as many as 300 million white-collar jobs could be affected worldwide over the next 5 years, with around 100 million at risk of disappearing altogether. And the signal in the McKinsey story is what makes it frightening. If artificial intelligence can do the work of the analysts at the most selective, most prestigious firm on earth, the people who were, by definition, the smartest hires available, then no white-collar job is automatically safe. So is consulting dead? No. And the honest answer is more interesting than that. What's being destroyed isn't consulting. It's the analysis part of consulting. And notice what AI still can't do. It can't sit in a boardroom and be trusted. It can't take responsibility for a decision. It can't navigate the politics of a company or look a nervous CEO in the eye and say, "This is the call." That's what's left. Judgment, trust, relationships, and execution. The firms that survive won't be the ones with the most analysts. They'll be the ones whose people can do the thing the machine cannot. Take responsibility. Which, if you think about it, is the same advice McKinsey would give anyone else. So there it is. The most powerful advisory firm in history, the one that has spent a century telling other companies how to survive disruption, is now the one being disrupted by a technology it recommended. And that's not just a story about consultants. It's a warning shot for every job that involves sitting at a desk and thinking for a living. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If AI can replace the smartest analysts at the most selective firm on earth, which jobs are actually safe? Tell me what you think in the comments. And full disclosure, this video was researched and produced using AI tools, which is either deeply ironic or exactly the point. If you want the money stories behind the biggest shifts on earth, calmly without the hype, subscribe. This is business analysis, not financial or career advice. I'll see you in the next one.